You've probably seen that dramatic headline. Canada's mass exodus begins. 61,000 pushed out, hundreds of thousands next. It's spreading everywhere, on YouTube, TikTok, and the news. But what does it really mean? Who are these 61,000 people? And is this a real exodus or just a big misunderstanding? In this video, we're going to slow down, look at the real facts, and separate truth from fear. We'll find out exactly what happened, why people are leaving, and what this means for anyone hoping to live, work, or study in Canada. By the end, you'll clearly understand whether Canada is truly pushing people out, or whether the story is more complicated than the headlines make it sound. So sit back and stay with me. Because this story is not just about numbers. It's about people, dreams, and changing realities. Let's start with the facts. According to Statistics Canada, between January 1st and April 1st of 2025, the number of non-permanent residents in Canada dropped by 61,111 people. That's the biggest three-month drop since the COVID-19 pandemic. But here's what many videos don't tell you. These aren't Canadian citizens being deported. They're mostly temporary residents, people who were in Canada on study permits, work permits, or asylum claims that expired or weren't renewed. In other words, these were people living in Canada legally, but temporarily. When their documents expired, they either left the country, switched status, or were no longer counted in official statistics. The biggest single group in that number was international students. More than 53,000 students left or fell out of the record within those 3 months. That's huge, and it tells us this change hit the education sector hardest. Now, that doesn't mean Canada suddenly forced out 61,000 people overnight. It simply means that a large wave of temporary residents reached the end of their stay all at once and didn't renew. Meanwhile, during that same period, Canada still welcomed over 104,000 new immigrants who became permanent residents. So yes, people are leaving, but people are also arriving. The term mass exodus sounds dramatic, but the truth is more like a mass adjustment, and the reasons behind it tell an even bigger story. So why did so many people leave in early 2025? Let's look at the main reasons one by one. First, permit expirations. Every year, thousands of study and work permits naturally expire. In 2025, renewals became harder, and many people didn't qualify to extend. Once a permit ends, that person must either leave or change status. This alone explains a large part of the 61,000 drop. Second, stricter immigration policies. The Canadian government announced a plan to reduce the share of non-permanent residents to about 5% of the total population by 2026. That means fewer student visas, fewer temporary workers, and tighter renewal rules. So this decline isn't an accident. It's part of a deliberate slowdown. Third, cost of living. Rent, groceries, tuition, and daily expenses have gone up sharply. For many students and workers, Canada became too expensive to manage. Some decided to return home or move to cheaper countries rather than struggle. Fourth, regional concentration. Ontario and British Columbia saw the biggest drops. Those provinces host the most universities and private colleges, so when student numbers fall, the local impact looks like an exodus. Fifth, natural population decline. In that same period, Canada recorded more deaths than births, about 5,500 more deaths. So without immigration, Canada's population would actually shrink. That's why these non-permanent resident numbers matter so much. Put all that together, policy, cost, permits, and demographics, and you get one clear picture. This isn't chaos, it's change. A planned shift toward fewer temporary stays and a stronger focus on long-term residents. Now, what does this really mean for Canada's future? And for anyone watching this video who dreams of moving there? Number one, slower growth. In early 2025, Canada's population grew by only about 20,000 people, the smallest growth in decades. That slowdown is directly linked to the drop in temporary residents. Number two, changing immigration targets. The government now plans to keep permanent resident admissions around 485,000 per year, but it's limiting temporary permits. The goal is balance, welcoming newcomers while easing pressure on housing, healthcare, and transportation. Number three, economic impact. Canada relies heavily on temporary workers and international students to fill jobs and pay tuition. When fewer come, labor shortages may appear in healthcare, hospitality, and technology. At the same time, fewer newcomers could cool housing demand. which might finally slow rent inflation. Number 4, what it means for you. If you're planning to move to Canada, understand this. The temporary route is no longer easy. The government now prioritizes permanent pathways like express entry, provincial nominee programs, and family sponsorships. To stay long-term, you'll need a clear plan, not just hope that your study or work permit will renew automatically. And what about the next wave everyone's talking about? Some experts think the drop will continue in 2025 and 2026 as stricter rules take effect. But this won't be a sudden mass exit, more like a steady adjustment over time. In short, Canada isn't closing its doors. It's reorganizing who comes, how long they stay, and on what terms. That's the real story behind the numbers. Now let's take a step back from statistics and talk about people. Every one of those 61,000 cases is a human story. Imagine Sarah, a young woman from India who came to Toronto for university. She worked part-time, paid rent, and dreamed of permanent residency. But when her study permit expired, renewal rules changed, and she had to leave. She said goodbye to friends, sold her belongings, and flew home, heartbroken. Or Mohammed, a skilled worker in Vancouver. His employer lost a government contract, and his work permit depended on that job. When it ended, his legal status ended too. Within weeks, he had to pack up and return to his home country. These stories show that behind every policy, there's a person. When governments adjust numbers, individuals feel the pain first. That's why calling it a mass exodus isn't completely fair, but it's also not totally wrong. Because for the people leaving, it feels like an exodus. So what can you do if you still want to move to Canada? Stay informed. Plan ahead. Understand the difference between temporary and permanent status. Don't rely on guesswork. Follow updates from official sources, not just viral videos. Canada's immigration system is changing, but opportunity still exists. The path may be harder, but not impossible. And remember this, no matter what the headlines say, people are not just numbers. They are dreams, families, and futures. So, is Canada's mass exodus real? Yes, the numbers are real. But the reasons are far more complex than fear or force. It's a transformation, and the world is watching it happen in real time. Thank you for watching till the end. If this helped you understand what's really going on, please give this video a like, share it with someone who needs clarity, and subscribe for more honest breakdowns of immigration news. Stay informed, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next video.